Well, it's coming up on 1 o'clock here on day 3 of DISTRIBUTECH here in San Antonio. And in about another hour or two, all of this will be gone. So the event is over. It's been a busy week. I'm tired, I'll tell you. What were my key takeaways? I suppose a couple of topics jump to mind. The first one being DER, Distributed Energy Resources. That was the key theme here everywhere. And the second one being grid resiliency. Now, back to DER, they were basically talking about deploying distributed energy resources, solar panels on roofs. What are your commercial, residential, small business, electric vehicles, again, consumers buying EVs in certain parts of the country, or some people talking about commercial fleets, buses, trucks, vans, they being electrified and the impact that will have. And a good bit about battery storage or energy storage, but primarily battery storage and primarily lithium-ion based technology. There wasn't much here about hydrogen this week or flow batteries or compressed air or whatever. It was pretty much lithium-ion batteries. Now, but it was all to do with, well, how do we plan where they should go? How do we deal with the ones that are already deployed? How do we do grid simulation? How do we manage all this stuff? How do we build rate cases, or how do we create offers for people so that they don't all plug in their electric vehicles at the one time and cause grid congestion on the feeder lines, and what do I have to upgrade the substations and stuff? So this is real, and people are buying electric vehicles, and while the total percentage of electric vehicles in North America compared to the number of normal cars and trucks they buy is quite low, there are pockets in California, and you look from the outside in, there's many states, many cities and towns and counties here in the US that they've gone off and they have their own mandates for reducing pollution or reducing congestion, encouraging people to switch to electric vehicles. So there's no one size fits all, certainly across the US. So there's a lot of different places where electric vehicles are viable today. So the utilities have to plan for what happens when all these guys plug in at 6 o'clock in the evening. How do we manage that? We can't do that, so we need to manage it. So that, and then where do I put solar in, and where do I need batteries in the grid to potentially help with some of the congestion or the frequency, and. So DER was kind of it was everywhere. Everybody was talking about DER. The second piece was around resiliency and grid resiliency, and a lot of this was based on the terrible events in California over the past 24 months, the wildfires, power being turned off to millions of people in California for months, for 5 or 6 days, which is something I never thought I'd see. So people are looking at grid resiliency, and it's kind of tied back to the DER, the distributed energy resource. Do I need my own solar on the roof? Do I need my own battery? Should we have a microgrid in our community? Should my shopping mall be self-sufficient? Should my factory be self-sufficient? Should the campus be self-sufficient? So a lot of things around resiliency, and chats about there is more capacity here in North America for things like wind energy. But where they can get the wind energy, there's not necessarily the population to use it, so we have to transport the electricity. We need transmission lines. Now, if you thought building transmission lines in Europe was difficult, it's the exact same here, if not worse. So that's a challenge, but it was going, we got to make the grid more resilient. And of course, cybersecurity was a huge theme underneath all this, because bad guys could come and do something, or just whatever, bad things can happen. So cybersecurity for resiliency was also kind of one of that pieces. When it comes to technology, I was pleasantly surprised. I counted about 12 different companies with drones on their booth. And not necessarily just companies selling drones, but just offering it as a drone as a service, or using drones in their standard workflows. Drones here are kind of becoming just a tool, like the lineman has one in the truck, or some guys in the utility. Somebody in the utility, there is a drone team, and they use drones either for doing some inspections, quick inspections, whatever, but it's just becoming a tool. So that was kind of good to see. And a lot of people also talking about vegetation management, back to the resiliency piece. How do I keep the grid going and cut the right vegetation? A lot of stuff around satellite imaging, and in the futurist session at the excellent keynote opening the first day, a lot of talk about the new technologies, low Earth to orbit satellites, all the data they're collecting, and a bunch of companies here talking about using that data for helping as they plan for the grid, as they do vegetation management, and. And actually, the winner of Initiate here this year was Live EO, a satellite imaging company with lots of data from Europe. So congrats to them. There was some AR, VR, some robotics. ULC Robotics and Con Edison had some clever technology around for substations, for swapping in and out of breakers and stuff in dangerous places. There was a lot of software. You know, half of the show was actually software. Software runs the grid. And everything from AI, machine learning, assisted machine learning, deep learning, you name it, they had it. And what was quite interesting as well was I've spent most of my last 10 years talking about selling, I suppose what we call IoT, more devices, more compute at the edge, more. Somebody made a comment to me during the week that, you know what, we don't need more data in the energy industry, in the utility industry. We have enough data, smart meter data, grid data. Now some of it isn't great and it's going to get better, but we actually have, a lot of utilities have enough data already to make serious value out of it by actually using the data. You heard the term dark data. We have all this data, but we're not using it. So it's actually costing us money to store it, but we're not doing anything with it. A lot of more companies here with clever applications, artificial intelligence type applications, packages for someone's been able to extract data out of this data set somewhere over here with one customer, and now they're repackaging it and it's off the shelf. So a lot of people getting that. I've seen some utilities here talking about they're kind of open sourcing their data internally in their own company, so different divisions can go look at it and go, oh, I didn't know we had this kind of data. Well, if I map that with the weather data and I map that with the customer service, oh, I can create all sorts of new ways of taking cost out, being more efficient, more predictive maintenance. So that's good to see. You know, they've put the money in, they've invested in the sensors and the networks. Now they're getting the money back because they're actually being able to capture the value. And that's only more encouragement to continue the digitalization and the automation of the grid. The other key topics, busy. Like European Utility Week, for all different reasons, but we just got to do something. So the kind of sense of people are plugging in electric vehicles, and whether you agree or disagree with climate change and its reasons and whatever, and politics over here says fun. People are still saying we have to do something. We can't sit around. And we have to do stuff now. So very much a good dose of realism about what can I do now, and a lot of that is driven by the whole social movements across the globe, here in the US as well. And you see a lot of new mandates in different cities, different states. Decarbonization, electrification of energies. So there's a lot going on, but it was a busy week. So after 4 days here in San Antonio running around, chatting to loads of folks, made some new friends, learned a lot, I'm tired. So I'm looking forward to going home and getting some sleep.